Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You are rocking with Jay Riggins, the author of the book, What a Man Really Wants to Say About Relationships, Revised and Unapologetic. And this is the official trailer of the Unapologetic Relationship Podcast, brought to you by the good folks at the Podpire Network. What is the Unapologetic Relationship Podcast, you ask? Well, thanks for asking, Jay. Just imagine being straightforward all the time with your relationship conversations. And there is nothing you can't talk about because it might seem weird, or people might not agree, or they'll hold back for the sake of being judged. We don't care about any of that in this podcast. In this podcast, we will talk about what most humans talk about behind each other's backs. On the girls' trips, the barber shops, beauty salons, at the barbecue after you done drunk some of Uncle Sterling's moonshine. And at that point, you really don't care what people think because you're no longer using your inside gossip voice anyway. Please tune into the Unapologetic Relationship Podcast every other Saturday because we will be talking about some real shit.
The following podcast is a production of the Podpire Network. Find and listen to our podcasts at thepodpirenetwork.com or wherever you enjoy your podcast. The Podpire Network, a family of inspired podcasts.
Welcome, everybody, to Harebrained Schemes, the podcast, where we talk about some of history's most ill-conceived ventures and adventures. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but they're almost always funny. You will bear in mind, though, that we just said almost. And this one is the almost part.
Oh,
it's
this is
the almost part because it is anger. Yeah.
Oh,
we are talking today about someone who there is very little funny about. And it's just an exposition on greed and just the lack of any sort of moral compass whatsoever. And nice. My name, as always, is Bibby, and with me is my co-host,
Sibel Mufti.
Okay, so today we are talking about a certain Martin Shkreli. And for many of you, you already know who that is. But for those of you who don't, this will be quite the ride. So, I just, first of all, let me say, if you know this dude, you probably know him from his evil Daraprim venture where he took a drug that was going to help people managing HIV. And he took that and he sort of inflated the price to an ungodly
5,400%. Yeah. I don't know what you're complaining about. This is just the free market and capitalism, baby. Okay.
Right. Jeez. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But this is not what we're going to be focused on today because his harebrained scheme actually was, the various, companies that he started, and he ran essentially as his own personal piggy bank. So, and that's what ultimately got him, imprisoned. So, we're going to be focusing on that, but it is important to note that this is the same Martin Shkreli who, took a drug that cost, very little. And yeah, I mean, this drug cost $13.50 and he essentially priced it at $750 per pill.
Wonderful.
And patients had to take multiple pills a day. So for each pill, $750. If that does not get you a first class ticket to hell, I don't know what does. So let's go on a quick break and
he's fighting for top spot with Lucifer right there.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll take this quick break and we will be back to talk to you about Martin Shkreli. Don't go nowhere. It's Harebrained Schemes. And we are back. So let's go to the Wikipedia just to take a little look at who this dude is on the surface. So he was born March 17, 1983, and he is a former hedge fund manager and convicted felon. He is the co-founder of the hedge funds Elia Capital, MSMB Capital Management, and MSMB Healthcare, the co-founder and former chief executive officer of the pharmaceutical firms Retrofin and Turin Pharmaceuticals, now Viera Pharmaceuticals, and the former CEO of startup software company Girdle Systems, which he founded in August 2016. Okay, as we were discussing earlier, right? You probably know this dude as the guy who took this drug that, if you need, this is not a drug that you just want to be taking, right? If you're taking this drug, you need it to live. You need this drug to not die, essentially. This is not like, what? What would you, yeah, this is not multivites, right? Let's just say multivites, for example. This is not multivites. Yeah. I've personally, and I may be very naive, but I personally always thought that healthcare and medicine, these are spaces where capitalism has no concern operating in, right? These should be, because by definition, capitalism will always make sure that it's the people with the most money that get the most stuff, not the people who necessarily need it the most. And so when we're talking about healthcare and medicine, how are they related with capitalism?
Well, I mean, there's a more fundamental question there, right? Which is that for a capitalism-based system to work, you would have to be able to choose to not buy the product, right? So that you then also have the ability to go choose others. So it is a free choice between options.
Right. But
any situation where any case where you require medical care, there is no choice and there's too little time to go shopping. Right. Therefore, there's no real market or competition as far as the patient is concerned, because it's a need and not a want. So in the spaces that needs exist, that are time sensitive, and survival based, especially like healthcare, just does not make sense. No, not at all.
It's just I honestly think,
and deplorable things happen.
Yeah, I think it's pure evil that in that space that essentially people go to when they need the most help. We're talking about things like market forces and stuff. And yes, I hear the argument that, these manufacturers did invest a lot of money to develop the drugs and stuff. But do you know how much these guys get in grants? Government funded grants every year?
There's a lot of taxpayer money going in. Yeah.
That's my taxpayer money that helped you get this thing done. No doubt you put a lot of work in it, but I funded this, right? Yep. And so it's messed up. So he took this drug and he essentially made it inaccessible to all kinds of people. And that's why you probably heard of this dude, right? But that's not what got him in trouble. Unfortunately, as disgusting as what he did was, it is not illegal. So he could do what he did. And he was fine to do it. This dude's real job, however, was essentially shorting the market. Sibel, do you know what that is? Shorting the market?
I'm familiar with it from back in the day when I used to trade
when
for
you used to
be
a crypto king.
Yeah, I was not a crypto king. I traded for a crypto hedge fund for a short period of time. Yes,
aka crypto king. All right.
I was not a crypto king. No, I didn't do very well. I did okay, and then I left.
You were a
But
crypto king for
it was
2
a weird
days.
period of my life. It was a very interesting period of my life. But yes, I know what shorting is. I do.
So essentially,
I
this is when
I also
you
don't
bet.
think shorting should be allowed, in my personal opinion.
Well, yeah. So this is where you bet that a company, their share price is is going to go down. Essentially, that's what
Yeah.
it is. So you're betting on things going badly for a company, and then you bet, and then you hedge that bet. So when they do fall, you make money. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty good series, German series actually now on Netflix called King of Stonks. I binge watched that. It was really, really good. I recommend that for, I recommend that to anyone who,
Could you
it has
repeat that
English
again, the
subtitles.
name?
King of Stonks.
King of Stonks. Okay.
Yeah. I recommend it to anyone who, it's pretty fascinating, and it's well done. It's funny. But this really is how these hedge funds operate. Capital market brokers, it's crazy. So anyway, that's his job. So what he does, this dude doesn't produce anything. All he does is he makes sure that he sees a company that is struggling to bring something to market, and they're maybe about to get FDA approval, and then he starts to either go to the FBA and put all kinds of injunctions in place. And then when he puts injunctions in place, he then goes to the public square, like Twitter and everywhere else, and says, hey, this company's not going to do very well. FYI, there are injunctions and FDA protestations in place against them. Meanwhile, he was the one who did the FDA things.
Ooh.
So he essentially companies were breaking their
market
backs to bring, exactly. And so he would decimate company after company. Sometimes he got into trouble, right? He would bet that a stock would fall and it wouldn't fall, and it would go badly for him. But essentially, this dude was a parasite. And mind you, he specifically would target companies working on medication for extremely rare diseases. How evil do you have to be? So already there are little to no options for these people. And then the one company that is trying to do something about the rare condition that you have, Martin Shkreli would go in there and mess it up for everybody. That's what he did. That was his MO over and over and over again. It is hard to overstate how terrible this person was. Right? It's really hard to overstate. And, he could have gotten away with it too if he had just colored within the lines, because everything he did, for the most part, was legal. But the market manipulation part, that got him in trouble. And the fact that he, essentially ran his companies like his own personal piggy bank, misappropriating funds, embezzling from his own companies to the point where he actually was even ousted from at least one of his own companies. And then that company sued him for misappropriation of funds and all that kind of stuff. That's ultimately what got him into trouble.
Wow.
Yeah. Not the price hike thing. Not the,
Dude,
it's the, you're messing with investors' money. That's what got him into trouble. And does that not just tell you everything you need to know about a broken system?
It's a very broken system.
It's
deeply
just
broken system.
Yeah. And I'm not here saying, capitalism is not. They're good. I mean, competition is great. It's led to some of our greatest comforts and some of the things that we take for granted today, right? The services and products that we take for granted. Yeah, you can trace a lot of those back to capitalism. But in healthcare, dude, where people's lives are literally on the line, I don't know that that's the best model for it. I think that it should be a regulated industry all over the world, because this does not work if it's just one country doing that, right? You know that, right? Because they'll just pack up shop and go do it. They'll just go manufacture elsewhere. And the people in this country
it
still wouldn't just get the drugs, because the companies decided they would just pack up and go do it elsewhere. So all the countries of the world have to agree that this is one area where, we have to be more regulated. Otherwise it won't work. But I mean, all of that is is fantasy land, right? Because it's not going to happen, is it?
Probably not. I mean, I think we saw it with the COVID vaccine where Pfizer and Moderna have already started talking about raising the prices of the COVID vaccine so it's more profitable, even though the original prices that they negotiated were clearly made to be profitable.
There you go.
So
there you go. And these are results of government-funded research and
100%
participation from across the world of scientists who, in the face of a pandemic that could wipe out the entire human race, came together to do something monumental. And now it's all about the money now, right? Just based down to the dollars and cents. It's sad, is what it is. But yeah.
No, we've got a huge issue when it comes to these things, and a lot of drug development apparently is not done within these large companies anymore. They're often done by these smaller companies, these startups. They develop the drug, and then the large company buys the patent and the small company up. And the small company often has done it with the grants and things like that.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to create if the pandemic has taught us anything, it is that centralized, coordinated response to healthcare is the only way it works.
The pandemic
and we have to build it's taught us a lot of things.
We've learned nothing.
We have learned nothing.
And that is the issue. And that's why history continues to repeat itself. Because you didn't learn it the first time, so it has to come back around and say, hey, didn't you hear me the first time? And it has to go over and over again because we never learned it the first time or ever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's it begins to beg the question as to whether humans are evolved enough to manage our current level of societal evolution, to put it very simply.
Are you saying should humans have free will?
No, what I'm saying is we have the technology to travel across the world in less than a day and move hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people across the world in a day using our aircraft, aircraft systems. But we lack the collective maturity to use common sense protocols and protections against a pandemic, which has a collective toll and cost on us.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a disparity there between our capabilities and our collective maturity. There's a line in Star Trek, which is one of my favorite shows. In Star Trek, they talk about a future where there's a eugenics war where people have created genetically modified human beings, and then they created the modified human beings to be super soldiers. Those super soldiers then decided that they want to get rid of everyone else. And in one of the series, the captain says that our technology outpaced our instinct. There were and the discussion is that other species have figured out genetic manipulation as a form of medical treatment, but humans managed to figure out genetic manipulation and were unable to manage that technology and not hurt themselves because they were unable to act collectively. So that is the question I think is very interesting and unfortunate that comes forward, is that our collective response has not been one which is to take care of everyone, because because then it would be healthier for everyone. Like, it would be healthier for our next generation. Every argument makes sense from that perspective. The only one where that does not make sense is a very short term one. Very short term. So yeah. So just...
Anyway, we won't draw this out long. This dude, he was convicted in 2017. He was supposed to be in jail until September this year, 2022. He got out in May, early. I don't know why, but okay, sure. He's back on the streets, y'all.
Oh my god,
he's back out here, y'all. So who knows? Who knows what he's gonna
hide
do
your wife, hide your kids.
Yeah. He's done some pretty crappy things. Like, he got the Wu-Tang album and he refused to let it get listened to by anyone because he had shares he controlled the company that bought the album. It's like, who is this dude? It's just, he's just not a great guy. But yeah,
there are some people, man, and you wonder what their damage is.
Not a great guy.
Not a great guy.
Immigrants from Albania. They were janitors. He lived a middle class life. He could have. So it's not that he was born into douchebaggery, as far as we know. He chose the path. It's like, you merely adopted
the life of douchebaggery did not choose him. He chose it.
You merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it.
He's a fascinating creature, isn't he? But perhaps a symptom more than anything else.
Absolutely, because we talk about this dude today because his case is going on, but there are lots of people out there who would do the exact same thing.
Right.
Anyway, sorry folks, this week Hairbrain Schemes was not
funny.
A little depressing. Yeah. Depressing. But just thought you should know he's back on the street.
He's back out there.
So Anyway, thank you for listening. You can find Hairbrain Schemes everywhere you find podcasts. We are on Instagram as Hairbrain Schemes Pod, and we have episodes out every Friday. Sibel, anything to add?
No, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Please consider getting your second boosters if you can.
Yeah,
take care.
Stay safe. And
do not choose the douchebag.